A buddy of mine asked me about the Delphi murder case, and I'll be completely honest, I totally forgot about the whole entire murder trial that's going on, as well as the fact they've been going on for 14 or 15 days right about now. And as I went ahead and looked at the case of what all I had missed, it come to find out that it is a complete forensic nightmare right now. And it just seemed like the more this trial goes on, the more it just appeared that I don't believe he actually did it. There are some reasons why I believe that he probably didn't do this. Now, during the trial, the defense had Officer Christopher Goatee on the stand, in which he served on the Hammond Police Department during the time period the girls came up missing as well as unalive. Now, during his questioning, Officer Christopher was asked did he question anybody, in which he said that he interviewed Brad Weber. And he stated the reason why he investigated Weber in the first place was because Weber lived near the trail that the girls went up missing. In which Christopher stated on the stand that Weber had given the alibi that he went straight home after work that day. When asked was there anything else that was said, Christopher will go ahead and say that he doesn't remember, despite the fact that he had his notes in front of him. That's one red flag right there, because how do you not remember if you have your own notes in front of you? Another issue that came to light was when they had Dr. Deanna, who works for the Indiana Department of Corrections, take the stand. Now, what Dr. Deanna does is that she oversees all contract employees, including the state witness, Dr. Monica Walla. Now, the reason why Dr. Monica Walla was a state witness was because she stated that Alan had confessed to unaliving both Libby and Abby. Now, Dr. Walla's credibility was attacked due to the fact that she admitted to being a true crime fan who also listened and participated in the Delphi-related podcast. Now, Dr. Deanna was questioned about Dr. Walla's interest in the Allen's case. Now, Dr. Deanna said that she was not aware of Dr. Walla's extracurricular activities until after Dr. Walla was assigned to Richard Allen. Now, right there is a major conflict of interest right there. Dr. Deanna even said that she knew that Dr. Walla visited the Monon High Bridge, in which she thought that was unusual for somebody to visit the crime scene that you work with. And she stated that Dr. Walla did all this before Richard Allen arrived at Westville. Now, Dr. Deanna said that she does not determine which correctional facility that Richard Allen went to, nor does she know who makes that decision for him. But she did state that Richard Allen was a safety risk when he arrived at Westville. Dr. Deanna did state that Richard Allen was a code D for mental health, which means he needed individual therapy. Now, during his time period that he was at the Westville jail, Richard Allen was constantly being threatened by the other inmates, as well as constantly being monitored by CCTV. Now, Dr. Deanna even stated that she even recommended that the security cameras be removed due to the fact of Richard Allen's deteriorating mental health. But that request fell on deaf ears. Now, the other issue that Richard Allen faced while he was in jail was the fact that he was constantly in solitary confinement. Now, when it comes to solitary confinement, nobody should be in there longer than 30 days. But Richard Allen was held in there for 13 months. And the reason why nobody should be in there longer than that is because being in solitary confinement can cause mental health issues as well as cause mental illness. And if a person already suffered from mental illness, it can make it even worse. Now, some of you may be sitting there saying that nobody's been in solitary confinement for any longer than that time period. But I'm going to prove you wrong, though. Because an inmate with the longest stay in solitary confinement was Albert Woodfox. Now, Albert Woodfox stayed in solitary confinement for over 43 years at the Louisiana State Penitentiary. He stayed in a 6x9 cell for 23 hours a day with only 1 hour to shower or exercise. Albert Woodfox would state that the entire time he was in solitary confinement, he was constantly strip searched, gas, and beat. Now, Albert was released from prison in 2016 after his conviction was overturned 3 times. After his release, he wrote a memoir called Solitary, which came out in 2019, in which he also campaigned to end solitary confinement in prisons. But he passed away in 2022 at the age of 75. During cross-examination, the prosecutor would go ahead and question Dr. Deanna about Richard Allen's mental health. Now, Dr. Deanna would state that Richard Allen was not diagnosed with a serious mental illness when he arrived at Westville in late 2022. It went until April of 2023 when he was diagnosed after his mental health took a turn. And it was during that time period when his mental health took a turn when he actually confessed to unaliving Libby and Abby. It was first documented that Richard Allen was gravely disabled on April 13th of 2023. Richard Allen had deteriorated enough where intervention was required. Dr. Deanna had testified that Richard Allen was involuntarily administered antipsychotic medications. Now, one thing I will say about the jury is that they asked the right questions, because the jury would ask the doctor several questions about mental health, in which one of the questions that one of the jury members had asked is, if a person is faking a mental health crisis, can they slip the truth into a confession? In which the doctor replied saying that she has seen psychotic people confess, as well as seen psychotic people make up things. Which is true, because I worked in a mental health facility, and when the person is under psychosis, you can't tell if they're telling the truth or not, because their version of reality is totally different from ours. Which also goes to the next question that one of the jury members had asked, in which they asked is, how can a psychiatrist determine if a person is faking a psychosis? And she replied saying that they listen to the body language as well as the chain of the story. Now, here's the thing with that. When people are under psychosis, psychosis, they are disorganized in every fashion that you can think of. Whereas if you can ask them a question, they won't even answer the question you just asked them. They'll say something completely different from what you asked. Whereas if a person is actually faking it, they'll answer your questions no problems at all. I've worked in the mental health field doing assessment on people with mental health issues, and one thing I kind of find out is that the ones we always have to watch out for are the ones with psychosis. But the thing with psychosis, everybody is different. I've assessed a person that grew up through a different state, all because they kept following the road. I met people who say they were demigods, gods, Jesus, Antichrist. Even had one person believing that they were the Pope. And I even have some that they're so far gone, like you can't get any kind of information out of them. Some don't even remember their own names. Now, stuff like that can last from either hours, days, months, sometimes a year. Now, the ones that are faking it, they're the ones that do basically everything that's off of internet search. They do everything that they read on the internet, but not understanding what it actually means. Now, the thing with people faking mental illness is that you can only fake it so long before the truth actually comes out. Whereas in most facilities, they only give you 3 days. Now, it comes a question. Did Richard Allen give a false confession? And the answer is, there's a possibility that he did. Now, there are different types of false confessions, but the one that pertains to this case will be known as coerced compliant confession. Now, what a coerced compliant confession is when a person is interviewed for hours without a lawyer or a family member, which can lead to stress and mental exhaustion. Now, police, they may offer incentives to get the person to confess by offering drinks, food. Some that even offer immunity deals if they tell them the truth. They even goad them by saying that you will feel a lot better if you just tell the truth. In which, in most cases, people end up confessing just to end the process. Now, some people may confess to a crime they didn't commit as a form of plea bargain, in which they confess to avoid a harsher sentence after trial. So teenagers, young adults, individuals with mental health issues, or low intelligence are more vulnerable to false confessions. And some of you may be saying that nobody confessed to crimes like that. But throughout the years, there have been plenty of people that confessed to crimes they didn't commit. In 1932, over 250 people confessed to kidnapping the Lindbergh baby after they received headline news around the world. In 1947, over 500 people confessed to the Elizabeth Shorts murder, also known as the Black Dahlia. And the weird thing about that case is some of the ones that confessed to the crime wasn't even born around that time period. For example, the Central Park Five. I don't even need to explain that. Another one was in 2006 when a man named John Carr had confessed to the murder of John Bonet Ramsey. And due to the confession that he made, they went ahead and arrested him after extraditing him from Thailand. But he was released after his details of the crime didn't match the crime scenes, as well as his DNA was not a match for the ones that was at the scene. His wife and brother even made a statement saying that he'd never been to Colorado before, which is where the crime took place, which in fact he was living in another state during that time period. So with all that information, I still believe that they actually got the wrong person. So I'm interested in hearing what everybody else had to say. Do you feel that he actually did this, or do you feel that he's being railroaded because this case has been taking too long? Go ahead and put your comments down below. And if you like more forensic analysis of cases like this, go ahead and stay tuned to my channel for more videos to come. And if you're new, go ahead and check out my other videos that you might like.